So please welcome Courtney Haydell to the show. Welcome, Courtney.
Thank you, Ashley. It's so good to be here.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you. And you know, when something I've had this podcast for 4 years, and when guests come now approach me, before when you started, you're thinking, who am I going to interview? Who am I going to attract? But now at 4 years in, I get a lot of people that ask to be on the show, and I don't. I usually like to now at this stage kind of feel it out and go to what attracts me.
Yeah.
And when I read your bio and what you were and the book you wrote, it just really resonated with me. And I thought, yes, I would love that. And as a mom myself to two children, I have raised them in the ways that I'm sure you have by the way you wrote the book. So I
Yes.
thought, if anything, I just want to put a spotlight on a parent that has been intentional with raising their children. It could probably make me cry.
Yeah.
um, as mine is graduating from high school, one of mine, my oldest,
Yes.
and then I have a freshman. So there's 3 years apart. I've raised them with signs, synchronicities, gratitude. We've had meditation, morning routines. They have to give compliments every day. And at this stage of their life, when you're doing it when they're little, you don't realize it's anything's working. But then
Right.
they hit high school and you're like, wow, it worked. It's like
Good.
the fruit of my labor is showing up. Thank you, God.
Yes.
So when I see someone like you, and I just even just meeting you for a couple minutes before the interview, I just know your energy. I can tell the love that you have for your children, and just being the parent these days, especially in the time of this world that we're in, it's
Hmm.
challenging. And instead of putting blinders on, and I see that a lot in parents, I created a raising confidence class through this podcast because it was in 2020. And I
Hmm.
was talking about parenting. And then all of a sudden there were a line out my door and like of these kids that these parents said, my kids need help. And I feel like
Yeah,
now we didn't realize it at the time, but now 4 years into it, there's more and more children that have been affected in ways that we don't even, that we didn't even imagine.
for sure.
So my my introduction to Courtney has just been that. It's been learning about somebody just by reading your book because that is it that I had to read. I
Yeah.
just sense your love, your the importance of raising children,
Mhm.
um, being intentional, like I say, but in this world that we live in, and watching children grow, being present, being in the every single moment, not looking back and regret anything. As a parent, that's the last thing you want to do is have any regrets. And uh, being right now at the end of my childhood first baby, going to graduate in a month, and
Mhm.
knowing that I did everything. I placed
Mhm.
all these little tools in her that I know she can take with her into her new little journey that she's going to go on, and I have all the faith. She has her values and all that. So with that said, let
Mhm.
us bring your story to the world and share before the book and before all that, kind of explain to me why you're you parent the way you do.
Well, I owe that all to my mother and father for sure. I'm the youngest of six children of a Catholic family. My mother was a school teacher at a Catholic school her whole life. My dad worked days, nights to put us all through Catholic school because that's what they believed in the most. Um, my mother was diagnosed with cancer in 2017, probably one of the most rare cancers, gallbladder cancer.
Huh.
So she was diagnosed in January of 2017 and passed away in November of 2017. I
Oh,
had a 5 year old and a 2 year old. And never in my wildest dreams did I picture raising my children without her, you know? And then my dad passed away 2 years ago. We think from a broken heart because she was gone. So it was a hard time in my life trying to navigate my grief of missing my mother, helping me raise my boys. And it was a hard time for my boys as well because they were so in love with her too, you
Mm.
know? So the inspiration of my book came from actually my dad, which taught me the cardinal, like the red bird, and like she's gonna come, she comes, we believe in heaven, like this is real, she's still with us. And when you see one, you need to like think it and talk to her, and she'll always be with you. And you need to instill that into, well, in the book, they're George and Murphy, but those are my boys, and their real names are Maxwell and Zachary. So I just use them as character names. But so I did. And, when my mother passed, I tried to find anything I could, like grasp onto books and resources and like what could help them understand. Because at 5 and 2, they're here one day and the next they're not, and they're not coming back, and they don't understand why. So I tried everything I could to get books and resources to help them, and everything I could get, like my 5 year old especially, couldn't grasp the meaning, or, I still don't understand, mom, So I was like, I think I need to write the book, and I think I need to pass this on to other parents who are struggling and are going to be in my boat one day, and maybe help their children see that, hey, when I see a red bird, it's them. They're here to wish me luck, or here on the bad days, and they've they've left, but they really haven't. So that's a little background of like where it all started and where
But
we
the
are.
red bird, so your dad's the one that thought of the red bird, or
Yes, he taught me, like, one day he and I were outside on his patio after my mom passed, and I was just telling him, I was like, Dad, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm suffering, and I don't want my kids to see me like that. I want to celebrate Christmas, but I don't want to. Like, they need it, but it's just nothing's the same anymore. And that's when he's like, look, there's a card on the tree, Courtney. That is her. Like, it's not her, but she's sending you a sign being
right.
like, you got this. Like you said, I gave you all the tools. Use them. Like, here she is.
Right.
So it's bittersweet to me. Um, I hope kids suffering from loss and can use this and see them when they're out and about. I mean, it's rare. They don't come every day, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, I've known, like, since I've published this book, I've talked to many parents about kids really struggling, like acting out, doing rational things, irrational things, like, and so they told me, like, once they read the book and they're able to grasp onto this bird, and it's helped them in so many ways.
Hmm.
Like, they'll sit and talk to it. They'll be like, oh, she's here. Like, oh, I have a test today. She's going to help me. Or, hey, I have cheerleading tryouts. She's here. Look. Or he's here. Or anyone that they've
Right.
lost.
Right.
So it's,
Did your mom, before, since she knew she was probably going to be passing away, did she have conversations with you?
my mom was the strongest woman I think I'll ever know. And she fought that battle with such grace and such integrity. And the whole time, I think I was naive. Like, I'm not going to lose her. Like, she's too strong and powerful to go. But one night, 2 weeks before she passed away, I went to Louisiana because that's where they live. And I got the courage to ask her. And I'm like, Mom, are you scared to die? Because it just came to me like, she's not going to make it.
Right.
And I'm so glad I had the courage to ask her that, because her words live with me every day. And she said, Courtney, why would I be scared? I prayed my whole life for this. And
Mm,
it just, I mean, it still gives me chills, and it's, she was just awesome.
right. You
Awesome.
know, my dad passed away when Paige was 2 days old, so I didn't get to have a goodbye, or it came very quickly. And he lived in Seattle and I was in San Diego. So there was no, I couldn't fly. I was ready to have Paige, like, ready to go to the hospital. And so when I had her, um, it was May 5th, and then May 7th, I got the call that he had passed away. And my
Mm.
sisters were with him, and they say, because they found him, his wife at the time found him, I think, too late and thought he
Yeah.
was taking a nap. But the place they lived, they didn't have a lot of advanced uh, hospitals. So I think it probably could have been helped, but everything is exactly how it's supposed to be. And I know that. But
Hmm.
so he laid, in the hospital for like a week. And so my sisters were there and they just said, you know, even to be there, Ashley, and you weren't, you have a better like uh memory because you don't
Memory.
have, yeah. And
Hmm.
I never thought of that, but I always have felt like I never got to have that goodbye
Closure.
at that time. But since I've grown so much, and especially the last few years, meeting people that, channel medium, mediums, or, understanding, like listening to near death experiences all the time and
Mm.
understanding that mystery and knowing that they're here. And I always write a letter to him and my spirit team before an interview, thanking them for bringing you to this to me and making this a magical episode, and know that their words speak through me, that
Yeah.
they're with me.
I
And
love
I know that I haven't missed a letter since the beginning of this 200 and something episodes. But
Wow.
I feel like I'm actually closer to him, that when I was teaching the girls, because they never got to meet him, he was an owl to me. And so I would always say, "Oh, I saw dad today on my walk with the dogs," and we stopped and I talked, and then it evolved to, if it's a hummingbird now, and I acknowledge that. If it's a butterfly, I acknowledge that. And it's just like I turn on music, and if it's Christopher Cross Sailing, that's my song.
Yeah.
That song will come on, and I'll be like, "Okay, Dad, thank you. I know you're here." And when you understand, and you especially teaching children that it doesn't just end, and that they're
Mhm.
always here, because they're closer to us than we can even imagine. They're just not We're not vibrating as high as they are. Like, we're not in that density, right? So
Yes.
if we can, I have a conversation through my automatic writing with my dad, and he always says honey and sweetheart. And I know, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, where does that come from? But it's like, I know it when it's his words, I know
Hmm.
what he's saying, and I connect. And he, like, will say things to me and be proud or talk about, you know, I just know he's there, like, for sure. So, like, raising kids and understanding life in that way, it's just so comforting. And so, we all came here and we're all going to die. Like,
Yeah.
and when we're children, it's just such a fearful thing, like they have this, it's just so
Yes.
fear-based. And I understand that. But once you get to the place where you can, as a mom, and just like have that peace within you, and that,
Hmm.
they always do what you do, not what you say. So
Right.
when I keep saying to them, and we've had dogs pass away, and I just have to say, if I get like we're in a car and we see like our last dog passed away was Hudson, and we all looked at this face of this golden retriever and we're like, oh my gosh, Mom, that's a sign we're with Hudson, right? So
Yeah.
we have those conversations, and I feel so close to that, knowing that I want them to have that too, so they have peace, because they're
Yes.
gonna have experiences in their life. But
For
now
sure.
that your boys, it's been since 2017.
Yeah. So now Max is 11, Zachary's 8, um, fifth grade and second grade. And they are a delight. And they also have friends that are losing grandparents now. And they like to talk to them about it. And I feel like they, can be a shoulder for these kids and teach them that, hey, it's not over, like it's it's gonna be okay. They're with you. Like, in our job, my oldest loves to say is that we live to work to get to heaven. And I love that. So,
Mhm.
yeah, they're older now. There's my mom and dad have 13 grandchildren.
Wow.
The youngest was 6 months old when she passed. So, we all do what we can to keep their memory alive, and we want them to know them, and I hope my boys could be like, talk about me the way that I talk about my mom,
Right.
and leave that legacy for them. And they go on and they teach their children of, something were to happen to me, like she did it. We can do it.
Right. What
Yeah.
what is your mom's like if you were to say, what like if I think of my girls, like what are they going to say about me? What
Right.
what would you what do you want? Well, first of all, what do you say about your mom? And then what do you want your boys to say about you?
My mom, a strong, powerful, excellent educator, mentor, um, sweet, mean when she had to be, strict. For me, I'd say my boys would say loving, kind, protective, um, friendly.
How have you
Yeah.
raised them? Have you raised them with the religion?
Oh, yeah. They're in Catholic school. We in church. It's a big thing for us.
Yeah,
Hopefully, they'll carry that on to their children.
right.
That's how I was raised. So
But they
hopefully, I can put it, keep it going. You
right,
know.
right. Yeah, my girls go to a Catholic high school and they went to like a Christian school, elementary and middle school. And it was I wasn't raised, Richard was raised Catholic, but
Mhm.
I was more spiritual Christian type of raising. And now I'm more on the spiritual side, and
Yes.
listening to my podcast, I'm sure you know that. But you know, for me, like when you raise your children with that, just having the knowledge of the Bible or, a faith and, God, and there's something so, magnificent about your soul and your who you are, and you're a miracle. I say you're a miracle.
Mhm.
Um, I think there's so much that gives them so much depth and
Right.
an assurance in life, like the something to fall back on.
Yes. Because that's how I am. It's like losing my parents. If I didn't, they didn't teach me faith and what everything means, like where would I be today? Like not doing as well, I don't think. I just think if you don't believe in the higher power and where you go after this world, like, then what do you live for? What are you
Right.
trying for?
Right. And your husband too, is he on the same?
Mhm.
Yeah. Was that important to you when you got married?
It was important to my mom.
Oh,
Yeah, it was.
yeah. How was that? How did she raise you? Like as the youngest of all those kids?
Youngest of six, and my sister and I are only 11 months apart.
Oh,
So
wow.
super close. It's four boys and then my sister and then I. Um, she raised us very, very strict, but in a good way. Church every Saturday, Sunday, Catholic school, all the church comes before sports. She like her mother raised her that way, so I think that's how she did it for us, and I think that's why I'm doing what I am
Right.
for my boys. So yeah, but I wanted to talk to you because you mentioned the medium
Uh-huh.
earlier. So after my mom passed, I was really reaching. I was reading all books about near death experiences and anything I could get my hands on and medium. So I did find a Catholic medium that my friend suggested. And I was real skeptical and real nervous to talk to her. But she said things that people would not know.
Right.
And what's funny is she said, this was before my dad passed, and she said, your mom wants me to tell you to tell your dad to quit eating out of the can. And I'm like, what is she talking about? So after I got off the call, I called my dad. I said, hey, Dad, what you doing? And he was like, hey, Buck. Well, they called me Buck. My nickname was Buck Johnson. I wanted to be a boy when I was
Oh,
young,
funny.
like football and stuff. So my dad gave me the name Buck Johnson. So he was like, hey, Buck. And I was like, what you up to, Dad? And he's like, oh, I'm just eating chili out of the can, watching an old Western. I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
gosh, I'm like, Dad, Mom said to stop eating out of the can. He's like, well, when did you talk to her?
Oh, funny.
But yeah, I got all into that too. Um, what a gift they have.
Right. But
Yeah,
you do too. That's what I have learned through my writing, and I've learned through interviewing people. We all have that gift. It's just we block that off. And as, being human and having the limited belief that we have that connection,
yeah.
um, when you see the gifts, like I mean, Richard used to tease me and say, you have so many medians on. I go, it's a medium. And I'm like, get it straight. But I had a woman on that I said at the end, if you can we like see if anything comes through at the end of the interview.
Yeah.
And my dad's name is Gary. And we had been talking about Gary. We Christy Burkhead, Christy Levy is the woman that I interviewed.
Hmm.
And I was in a class, and Gary channels Joshua, but Gary and her are friends. So we were talking about that was our common denominator. And we kept talking about Gary and how he's, channels Joshua. And we were taking this class and how our lives have changed. And so we get to the 10-minute left of the interview, and she's like, is there a Gary in your life? And I go, what? And I had
Wow.
written my dad a letter saying, please come through if
Yeah.
and I said, well, yeah. She goes, every time we say the name Gary, he keeps tapping me on the shoulder. And it's been the whole interview. And so there's had to be a Gary in your life. And I said, oh my gosh, Christy, that was my dad. And that's my
Wow.
dad. And just the flood of emotion that she received of the love and how um, I'm with you all the time. I'm at the girls, events. I'm always there. I was there at the birth of Paige. Like, there was no missing. There's no missing. I mean, my
Hmm.
sister will take a picture. Both my sisters have two boys, and they'll be at their baseball games and take pictures of the hummingbirds like sitting on the fence for the whole game. Like,
See,
there's dad. Yeah. Oh, constantly. I'll look
I
at it like
love that.
I'll ask for signs all the time, and I'll get off the freeway, and I kind of let my intuition lead me like all the time. I say, do I go off this exit or do I keep going straight? Or if I miss the exit like I did today, I thought, oh, I'm supposed to go this way because there's maybe something I didn't want to be on that way, right? So I don't have a
Right.
question that, right? But I mean, there's license plates when I asked for a sign that had,
Wait, do you ever see the license plate? I've been looking for like
yeah,
a license plate. You like so your dad's initials?
I see. Well, he lived up in the San Juan Islands, and I mean, that's a rare up in by Canada. And it said San Juan Islands, and then it said Orcas Island because there's a bunch of different islands. And it said Orcas Island. I go, oh my gosh, Dad. It's like instant message, right? I'm like, oh,
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
yeah, what are the chances of the
Ne-
edge, the framing of a license plate?
yeah.
The song happens all the time. If
Mhm.
he smoked. So if I'm like walking and I smell cigarette, oh,
Yeah.
there he is again. There, hi,
Yeah.
Dad. But those are the things like once you start having those conversations and you start acknowledging those, they come all the time. Like it's like it's seriously nonstop. We live by a golf course, and sometimes I'll play music by the driving range. And one day I said, oh, I wonder what song it is. Sailing. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I
Wow.
do so much. I talk to him so much on my walk uh,
Yeah.
that he's saying, I'm here. I'm here. Like, what are I mean, that's not, that's not a coincidence. That's
No.
him playing that song.
Right.
And I videotape it and I come home, girls, your grandpa was with me. He showed himself today.
Yeah.
But it's such a um living in that way and understanding like that you are never apart, like we are all like,
Yeah.
and it's harder I think when you have a when you don't have that you haven't been around like the mediums and stuff like that where it's all new to you, so it's kind of a gray area. But once
Right.
you start doing that and you understand and you hear these, I was listening to a near death experience woman today who was didn't believe in God, was an atheist. And she just, it was so interesting to hear that's happened so much in all those NDEs. And I almost
Yeah.
feel like God's doing that. So you can like come back and go, okay, I get it.
Right. I
Right.
agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway,
Yes.
I feel like raising your boys, and especially where they are now, like in fifth and second grade, you think of what you're planting in them. Do you do like um certain things, like do you have morning routines or any kind of certain gratitude journals that you do with them?
No, not gratitude journals. A routine in the morning's kind of hectic to get out the door to go to school, but at night we do our prayers, and my oldest has a little journal that's his. He doesn't want anyone to read, which I'm tempted to go sneak that. So he has 15 minutes a night to write in there.
Oh, that's good.
So that's good. The 8-year-old has no interest. All he cares about is the NFL draft that's going to happen tonight. Um, he's sports, school, that's him.
Right.
So, yeah, but I wanted to ask you, so when Paige was born and you lost your dad, how, I mean, how awful was that when you just had a new baby and
Right.
wanted to grieve your dad?
Yeah, when I looked at it, it was, and I've had talked to so many people. A lot of times when a soul leaves and a soul comes that close together, there's a contract of being like, I'm going to be your guardian angel.
Right.
I that was our plan in this life. Like it wasn't, there's always, when you look at, I mean, I can see people that have died that when you look at the mystery of it, and you like that, like how could he do that 2 days before? He was just at my baby shower, months before that, and I was showing him the video of the ultrasound, and I was so excited, and he was talking about being a grandpa, um, and how my sister was pregnant too, and we were pregnant at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Her son was born at the end of February, and Paige was born at the May 5th. So we were basically pregnant at the same time. So
Yes.
he was excited to have these babies, and he lived up. Shelby lived up in Seattle, and she remembers him coming and holding Drake, and her just running around doing laundry. And she goes, "That's I could regret that to, like I just he was like, okay,
Oh,
Dad, here's the baby. I'm gonna try to get stuff done."
done. Right.
Instead of knowing that was my last time to be with you, and should have sat there with you.
Oh,
But so the other day, I even try to help her with um, knowing that, because she has her two boys, and um, to explain to them because they've never met. Well, Drake met him when he was a baby, but
baby.
I was telling her about the sailing song and how dad's been coming through my writing, um and she was listening, and um we talked for a while, and the boys, they're divorced, so the boys were at their dad's house. So we got off the phone, and when she went to turn off the lights, and she goes into her youngest's room, and he had his Alexa on, he never doesn't play it. He just uses it for an alarm clock. And
Right.
the music was playing, it was sailing with the words on the screen. And she gets back, she's like, calls me back. She goes, Ashley, oh my gosh. She told me the story. I go, see, like he's right here. He's just showing you, like,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's
What a
so,
feeling. Yeah.
yeah.
It's a
We,
scare. Yeah. Yeah. I know. When the lights flicker, our dining room recently, like the lights were on, off, and no one was in there. it's the most eerie, strange, but beautiful feeling, you
Yeah.
know, of like, oh, see, they're
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Like not a question. I do that. I was in the bathroom and I go, "Oh, there's dad," or and I have I had a interview at the very beginning, and she brought through like my grandma, but her thing was like to show proof. She said something. She's like, "There's an ashtray." And I used to work with my dad in his office with my grandma,
Yeah.
and it was and there was they smoked and I hated
Right.
it. And they had the ashtray, and they're like, "Yeah, there's the ashtray. Is that me?" I said, "Oh yeah, I just remember that ashtray." Or even growing up and having an ashtray. Remember those? Like, oh,
Mhm.
I don't those
Yeah.
do people do that still? Like,
They used to smoke in their homes and their
yeah,
cars.
in the airplanes.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, airplanes. Uh, yeah, I was a flight attendant, and good thing that was banned when I came on.
yeah.
I don't
My
think I could
mom
have done
was too. My mom
it.
flew for 40. Yeah, she stopped when she was 78 years old. It was when the
Wow,
pandemic. Yeah. They forced her to retire.
they did. She
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah. She would have probably still been doing it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
But anyway, like even her mom comes through a lot. She passed away when I was 2, so I really don't remember her.
oh,
But I try to tell my mom, like I'll have people do readings and say your grandmother, and she's always with you. And so sometimes I'll get that through my writing. But I'll
hmm,
tell like my mom things like uh um your mom is kind of like my guardian angel. And she'll say, "You are exactly like her." There's just certain things that, even having as a mom, sharing things about your mom and dad to the boys,
yeah,
so they remember them through stories and all those things.
right. I'm sure you taught to your girls a lot about your dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk and it's more of like the pictures will, I'll say, "Oh, when, this is when I was your age, we did that," or um yeah, like when we have to deal with a loss and you have those little babies that are questioning, you know, why, and thinking, "I'm going to die one day," that
Right.
where that goes through, or
Yes.
you, mom, are going to,
Yeah.
that such puts such fear, in their little heads. And it's like, no, it's a beautiful, we'll always be together. I always say that to the girls, like,
Yeah,
we're never going to not be together.
for sure. I know it makes me scared after losing my parents because it's like I'm next, like if you go in order,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
it scares me.
Right.
I can't imagine not being here for my boys, you
Right.
know?
Right.
So,
What about
yeah,
all your siblings? How do they parent? Is this all the same? Are you guys all similar?
about the same. We're all super close. Three still live in Louisiana by my parents' old house. Two of us live in Houston, and one's in Kansas City. But super close. We try to see each other as often as we can. Our grandkids are super close. We were told after our parents passed that it's really hard for the siblings to stay close.
Hmm.
People usually, because there's no like, oh, we're going to mom and dad's for Christmas, we're going to keep the traditions going. And it's easier now to be like, well, I have my own family now. We're going to start these new traditions.
Right.
So I'm really proud of the six of us for really like keeping it going and making the effort to get together and letting the grandkids get together. And we love sitting around talking about my mom and dad and the funny things they did and, teaching our kids those things and stuff. But I wanted to tell you before I forgot about the cardinal. Whenever my father taught me the cardinal and what the meaning is and how that was my mom. And I said, okay, dad, you know what? Whenever you pass away, and make that be a long, long time from now, but when that happens, this is what I want you to do. I want you to come back as a cardinal and I want you to fly and hit me in the face, just so I know, like, oh, it's real. So, Ashley, I kid you not, probably a couple months after he passed, I was sitting outside and there a cardinal came and it was on our patio chair. So I'm sitting there talking to it, you know. Ashley, that thing took off at record speed straight for my face.
Oh my
It freaked me
gosh.
out so bad, like I cradled my head and hands and I was screaming. And I felt the tip of its wings like brush my hand because I was like
Oh
this.
my gosh.
And I'm like, I'm a believer. I was like, I have to write this book. Like
Oh,
this is it. Like,
right,
okay, Dad, I got it. You know,
right. Oh my gosh.
I wanted to tell you that before I forgot.
Yeah, no, that's huge.
Funny
I
story.
birds scare me for some reason. There
Yeah, they
has to
used to
be.
scare me too. I wasn't a big bird fan
I'm
by
not.
any means. I'm a dog fan, absolutely. Birds, no.
No. And I
Yeah,
that if that I have like these terrible dreams of like this bird attack.
yeah.
Huh. You should have
Same.
said, Dad, if you, when you do pass away, just be there in the window. Don't hit me in the
Right.
face. Why'd you say that?
Butterflies are really cool, Dad. It's sweet.
Oh, funny.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
I like
sure.
that. Oh, that's so great.
And another thing about the book, when I was writing it, Max, my 11-year-old, helped me with the book. And he read it when I was done, and he's like, Mom, are you writing this as your perspective, or is this for a kid? And I'm like, well, baby, it's for a kid. He's like, but that's not how kids feel in grief.
Oh,
And I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, well, will you sit with me and, tell me how you feel and how a child feels with loss? So he helped me and he wrote all the journaling questions in the back. And it was his idea to put a picture of your loved one in
oh,
the book. So when I say that I wrote the book, it's actually me and Max that wrote the book, which means more to me than
oh, for sure.
anything. Um, but I just hope I love the response that I'm getting from everyone about the book, and I hope it's helping children
Oh,
and
for sure.
and and moms, like the mother of the family. It's a
Well, I
hard
think it gives them a tool too. Like when I was reading it, thinking every mom should have this when just even to explain, you know, when if even if there's no death, just to understand even the dog or like, to have something to teach with.
right. Or the goldfish, that happens all the time.
Right, right,
Every little kid loses a goldfish.
right.
Um, but yeah, that's my only hope.
But so to write a book,
Hmm.
so give me that process. So you said, I'm going to write a book.
I said, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to see if I can make this work. I sent my manuscript off to all kind of places. Months passed. I'm like, nothing's going to happen. I guess I thought like I was some kind of singer sending off my like CD, you hoping to get picked up for a record label. So one day a publisher calls me out of the blue and I'm like, I don't know anyone that lives in South Carolina, but I did know that my oldest niece applied for a teaching job there. So I'm like, oh, maybe she put me for a reference. I'll answer. So it was a publisher telling me that he had my manuscript and that he wanted to pick it up. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And he's like, look, my wife recently just lost her mother. And while I was reading your manuscript on my back porch, her best friend bought her a birdhouse after her mother passed, and a cardinal has never come. But when I had your manuscript in my hand was the first time one came. So I
Oh,
ran inside to grab her so she could see it. And he's like, she was just bawling, crying, so much joy. Like, she's here. And he's like, I would love to publish a book if you let.
huh.
So here we are. And I was like, and they asked, like, what are your hopes for this book? I said, my only hope for this book is to reach, I don't know why the name Sam comes to me, but I just want to, this little boy, Sam, that lives in Seattle, going through a hard time. I want him to find the book. And it could be from the movie Sleepless in Seattle. I don't know. But this little boy, Sam, I hope he has found the book and has
Oh,
helped.
that's what it just came to you. You just said, "Oh,
So my husband's like, "Who's Sam?" And I was like, "I don't know, but the name just keeps coming, Sam." And he lives in Seattle.
oh my gosh, Sam in Seattle."
Yeah.
Huh. But so after he says, I want to take on your book, then what happens?
So they did, and then an editor tore up. Like my mom would be so embarrassed because she was an English teacher.
Oh,
How
funny.
punctuation errors there were and some misspelled words. So they took it and then met with the illustrator. And I said, she's like, "What's your vision for the cover?" And I said, "I don't want any characters on the cover." And she's like, "That's strange. You know, most people put their characters on the cover." I said, "I don't really want it. I just want this beautiful tree with a bird in it. And my boys love football with a football by the tree. And that's my life."
Right.
And so she did. And then actually in the book, for the illustrator, she put ladybugs on every page. I didn't ask for that. And she told me, she's like, "Hey, I just have to let you know, I lost my mom too, and my sign is a ladybug. So I hope you don't mind that I incorporated a ladybug in your book." And
Oh my gosh.
I was like, "Absolutely not. That's beautiful. Absolutely." I was like, "And we can make it a thing. Like, hey, while reading the book, I'm sure you saw, like, did you count how many did you find the ladybugs?
Hmm.
Like a fun game also." So I thought that was cool. And it's like you said, everyone has their own sign,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So yeah.
So what's your like looking at um now where you're at with your family in
Hmm.
your life, and it'll be gone. They'll be where I'm at now in a blink of
I
an eye.
don't want to be where you are, actually. No.
I always would say that too, because I believe me. And it's funny because she's going to college right here in San Diego,
Oh, great.
and it's 20 minutes away. And we were just there on Tuesday doing a full like a day tour type thing because we were in late in the game because she's on the rowing team, and it's a long story, but it was like a miracle. I always say God's plan is bigger than anything because she was supposed to go to LMU in LA,
Yeah.
and we signed with them because her grades made her on a wait list at USD. So I said, we're not going to wait. Let's just sign with LMU and be done. It's 2 hours away.
Hmm.
And so we didn't apply to any other school. It was just one and done type thing. And so end of January, when application process was over, they canceled the rowing team at LMU. We got a call from the coach and was, so apologetic. And we're like, oh my gosh, like threw us for a loop. But
Wow.
we were all sitting there. And I'm saying this to you because it's how I parented and how I saw how it all comes to fruition when they get to this age. And we sat there. She had tears, nothing over the top, but it was like dinner time, and um, we kind of stared at each other like, is that true? Like, is she really talking to the coach, and is it really canceled? And so she got off the phone with her, and I said, just call your coach and see what he recommends. And she really wanted to grow for a D1 school.
Yeah.
And she's worked 4 years for that. And that was important to her. So um, the coach said, reach out to USD again, see what he can do. She's like, my grade point average is like 1 point better. It's not that much different than when I sent it to him in November. He goes, we'll try it again. So she does. He gets back and says, sorry, you're still on the wait list. So at that point, we really had no other option but LMU with no rowing. So she goes, Mom, maybe I'm supposed to be at LMU and not row. Maybe I said, yeah. I said, I did sports and um, I didn't go to college for sports. It was over in
Hmm.
high school. And so we really accepted that. And we're like, everything is for you. I've always thought that that's like one of the main things in
I
this
love
life.
that.
Everything's always for you, never to you, right?
Right.
So she goes, well, that's for me. And she had written this article or a essay right when she got back to school in January. It was like, what was your biggest lesson in 2023? And I mean, they text me all day long. And she'll text me, she's like, Mom, look at what I get to write. Because she had like this boy liked her. She hasn't really had a boyfriend. And so this it was kind
Yeah.
of a new like understanding those feelings. And he turned out to be like this narcissist. I made her read a book on narcissism and all this. It's like it really like she kind of had this cool year. She's like, I'm so glad that all happened, Mom. That's why what you mean, like everything's for me. I go, exactly. And I said, now after this happened, I go, I want you to go read that essay because
Hmm.
you almost wrote that letter to your future self
Look at
and what
that.
you were getting ready to have go through, right? What you're going to have to go through. So we're back into you at LMU. We're all in. We paid the money and we get a call. She's at school. She goes, Mom, Coach Dave just called me and said that he got an email and said they accepted my app, or she didn't apply, just accepted her transcript and said he can recruit
Yeah.
me. I can go to that school. I just need to apply now. And I said, What? Like, what is going on? Like, you can't like make those things up.
No.
So
Wow.
he calls. I said, have him call. When we were driving up to LA that day. And so I said, I just need to understand that why this is happening. And he's like, I can't even explain it. He goes, and I don't want to ask the person because I'm just going to go with it. They sent me another email this morning confirming it, and I need to kind of know. I said, well, we're going to talk about it this weekend. He goes, no problem. You've been through a lot. Then get back to me. I said, we'll get back to you Monday. So
Hmm.
all weekend long, it was like, should we do the LMU? Have we, maybe I don't want to row. And then I said, Paige, I want you to have it go through. I want you to decide.
Yeah.
So we get home Monday, or Sunday night. And then Monday morning we wake up and I didn't have them go to school. And I was not home and she calls and she goes, I made my mind up. I go, okay. Do you want me to tell me now? She's like, no, I'll tell you when I get home. So I get home and she's sitting there. She's like, I'm going to do USD. And I said, great. Why? She's like, because I've worked 4 years for this rowing thing and I
Yeah.
don't want to regret not this opportunity to row. And if anything happens and I don't like it, I can always say, I'm not going to do rowing, but at least I went and rowed. I said, I
Yeah.
love it. Call him. So it's just those things in life. Like, I mean, it could be a death, it could be a college thing, it could be
Hmm.
a boyfriend, all the things in life that as a mom that you will come up with, that you'll come in, will be confronted with. And to have that peace and the knowing that this is all exactly how it's supposed to be. There's
Yeah.
no I always my whole thing is everything's perfect. All my friends are like, Ashley's always saying everything's perfect. But even that LMU thing was perfect.
Yeah.
I think her, to have that story of knowing that she didn't have it wasn't she didn't panic. She wasn't the victim. She didn't go into that spin of, why me or nothing like that. It was just like, okay, there are some tears. Now I just need to figure out, I don't have any other choice but this. So let's
Yeah.
make the most of it. And
I love that she rose. That's so
oh,
awesome.
yeah, they both do. And that was a
Okay.
COVID thing. Yeah, they used to do like they do pageants too. But and that was a postcard, like random, like I didn't do
Yeah.
pageants. Um, but they do that and they used to do musical theater and sing and all that. And then that was all closed. And they played
Oh,
softball and stuff, but all those things were
yeah.
closed. So someone had mentioned rowing and she was getting ready to be a freshman. And so the coach let her try it for a week for free, right? The
Yeah.
first 2 days on that rowing machine, that erg was like, Mom, this is hard. So I thought, oh, she's going to hate this.
Right.
And then I'll never forget, I pick her up on Wednesday and they were on the water that day. And she goes, Mom, I love it so much. I found my thing. I go, what?
Wow.
Yeah, it was so cute. I mean, she's just loves it. And I think her sister followed because it was like, well, you have to do something,
Mhm.
And I think she's learned so much from Paige, her dedication and her commitment. I don't, it's just cute to watch and see when
For
Paige
sure.
leaves, even though they'll
Yeah.
still be rowing at the same boathouse. She'll kind of
Hmm.
have Paige's well, Paige was here this morning. I'm here this afternoon.
Right. I
I guess
love
I better keep rowing because my
it.
sisters. But yeah, it's just been yeah, an interesting sport. It's not one I never thought I'd be a crew mom.
Right. So cool though. I just think
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Yeah, so different, you know?
Yes.
And it's
So
of all
cute
this,
too.
yeah. And of all the sports, the it's a team sport. Like you can't you can't row crooked. You have to row the same, it's not like you have to show up. They can't have
Right.
one missing rower,
Right.
can't have a sub for that. So
No.
it's very it's talk about discipline. Mind they have to be up early every 7 days or 6 days a week. Saturday mornings they only get Sundays off. Yeah,
It's a
so
commitment.
oh, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when she starts college, it'll be morning and afternoon practices and two days and college. So yeah, it'll be a interesting
She'll be busy.
yeah, very, which is good.
She excited for college?
Yeah, I think going there this last
Yeah.
weekend, we went on Saturday and then on Tuesday. It was the funny part was showing her the dorm room. So we had a friend that had her nephew goes there. So she's like, let's go show Paige the dorm rooms. So we go in and she goes, Mom, and it was so messy.
Yeah.
And it was four girls, four beds, and the closets and stuff. She just was like, oh boy. I said, yep, this is what you do.
Welcome to college.
Yep, this is what we do. And
So
it's
cute.
like, yeah. So, yeah. And that what I was going to say about where you don't want to be where I'm at because I get it because I'd rather be in preschool, right? I'd rather be getting ready to have a baby.
Right.
I would have had
True.
so many more. But when she's when I now that I'm here, it would be I get it. Like she's ready to it's so fun to see the next step and her
Yeah.
growth, and see that how she handles that.
Oh, this makes me want to tear up.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but I feel like I would be, being like wanting her to be back as like, one more year of high school. She's so ready to be on to the next thing. We're all
Yeah.
just like, I mean, as much as I'd want to be on the floor blowing bubbles and playing with toys, you know.
Right. Stepping on Legos and everything else,
Yeah.
dinosaurs. My sister actually, we talk every night. Every night. She was talking. She has a senior son. He's about to go off to college, same as you. And there's so many things end of the year, like this dinner, this award ceremony, this. And I said, "Oh, Jamie, gosh, it just sounds like so much." And she's like, "You know what? But I'm lucky I get to do it. Like I'm
Right.
lucky I'm here, and I'm lucky I get to witness it." And I was like, "Okay, that stuck with me too." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right."
Right.
Like all the times I want to complain, like, "Oh, this one's got to go to soccer, that has football, that has this," and I need to stop myself and be like, I'm lucky I'm able to
I
drive
get
these kids
to.
to see
Yes.
what they love to do?
Right.
So yeah, so maybe Ashley for you, like you're so lucky you get to see her go
Right.
off and do that,
Yeah, for
the
sure.
next step.
And I see the girls because they have their bedrooms and Presley and her, they have so much fun together in the car. Haven't had to drive to
Oh,
school,
true.
so that's a whole, I mean, I will next year again for the first half until Presley turns 16, but I said, enjoy. I always am reminding them, like, this is it, you guys. Like, and
Mm,
every day, comes count one down because those car rides to school and then to crew, those are fun. That's an hour crew ride and then like a half hour back with the traffic. But
right.
they're with each other in that car and they have so much fun. And I know the memories and
No,
just
yeah.
having, getting ready for school and having breakfast. I keep saying, are you enjoying every moment?
Right.
Like I'm reminding you, this is things end. You
Yeah.
gotta, but anyway, it's fun. But thank you for being here. I know I've been talking, but anyway, any last words of Courtney's wisdom that you want to share?
No, I just so much enjoy talking to you. Thanks for having me. The book, just it's my baby. I hope it helps others. It continues to help me. I hope I'm doing it right with these kids.
Oh, of
So,
course you are, because it's perfect. When the Red Bird Flies is the name of the book. I don't even
Yeah.
think we've said that yet.
No.
When the red bird flies, you can get it on Barnes and Noble and Amazon.
Walmart, Books a Million.
Aren't you
Yeah.
proud of yourself?
I am proud of myself. I just
Yeah,
hope my parents are proud.
of course they are.
You know, to see my husband's very proud, my boys are very proud, and my siblings, but at the end of the day, I just hope they are too, you know.
Yes, they are for
Because even
sure.
after they're gone, you still work your tail off to make them proud.
Right? Well,
So
they're
yeah,
there watching you, cheering you on,
you too, Ashley.
sending those red birds right in your face.
Thanks, Dad.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. It was so nice to meet you. Thank you so
So
much.
nice to meet you too. Thank you, Ashley. Good luck
You're,
to Paige in college.
oh, thank you.